fucking shoot it. Shoot.
I don't have ammo. Hey, good afternoon. Kind of take this video off the cuff. Had a conversation the other day with one of my coworkers about camouflage, and he made mention that mossy oak off the Walmart shelved camouflage is probably better for the region that you're in than MILSURP camouflage. So it's kind of testing that out today, and I want to bring you guys along with it. I have 4 different types of camouflage, which are going to include M81 Woodland, the Army ACU camo. I have Navy Type 3, which allegedly is the same colors as multicam, but done in a digital pattern. I've seen contradicting statements about that. And then I have, just like what I said, off the shelf, local Walmart mossy oak. For those that don't know, I'm in the coastal part of Virginia. I'm about an hour inland, so it's a little more wooded, it's less beachy, but this was bought, like I said, my Walmart 10 minutes down the road during hunting season. Currently right now it is early spring. Early spring, we're mid-March, and I'm going to be testing 3 different positions. I'm going to be testing on the ground, as if you're prone, you're trying to hide. I'm going to have it standing up in a clearing, so I'm going to try to find a branch in my clearing in the woods, and then I'm going to have up and in the bushes. I'm going to see if I can find a bush to hang them in, and we're going to do each one. It's going to be roughly the same time of day. Obviously it's not going to be exact and perfect, and I'm not going to try to cherry pick a certain spot for to better suit one type of camo over the other. I'm going to put them all in the same spot, and if they suck, they suck, but if they're good, then I want to see the difference. M81 Woodland, it's gone out of favor now. It's really good in the jungle. Vietnam was where it was made for, and a lot of people use it now just because there's abundance of surplus. I decided to go with tops for all this, so they're all either blouse or jackets, and then my local camo is a long sleeve shirt. I went with tops for this because that's what you're going to be seeing if you're standing up, more so than you're going to be seeing the legs. So just trying to find the best garment for the test about what's going to be presented towards either wildlife or a potential enemy. So the first one I have laid out is ACU camo. It's the one that I expect to do the least, and do the least well. So as you can see right now, I'm on the back side of where I would be hiding from either a deer or potential enemy. I'm going to walk around to the other side from all angles to kind of give you all a perspective on what it looks like. So I don't know how well it's being picked up on camera, but it is super easy to see in person. Coming on around there, it's not as bad. Let's see if I can get the sun out of the lens. Yeah, there it's not as bad, but still it stands out as lighter than all the other things. There it's gone. So it is between those 2 trees. Excuse me. Yeah, those 2 trees. And then here it's completely gone. And as we move around to the front side, so right there's our magnolia, and I can already see the shoulder. Better than nothing. I feel like the tree's doing a really good job of hiding it too, which is what I wanted. This is a place that I would scamper off to if need be. It's a pretty good foliage covering. All right, on to the next. So next up on the pile is our camo, our M81 woodland. So I'm just going to prove that I'm putting the same exact spot, I'm just going to lay it over top of it. And there it is. M81 camo is now over top of my ACU blouse. So already it's doing better with the shading of the leaves in the sun. It's fading in pretty well, and we'll take the same route. So already backing up to the naked eye, you can tell that it's different. It's darker. It's a lot more brown than everything else around it, but we'll keep moving on. This is the same perspective from the corner. It's right there. You can tell that it's there, but unless you're looking for it, it's going to be hard to find. Moving on around. Now this is different. So once again, it's between those two trees. And to the naked eye, I can't see it. Unlike the ACU where I could see it a little bit better. Moving on around to our frontal, I can barely see that dark outline is the jacket, but if I wasn't looking for it, it'd be pretty difficult to find. All right, on to the next. All right, so same thing. I'm just going to throw my Type 3 blouse over top. Probably going to have to bunch up this jacket a little bit so the way it'll cover. All right, there's the jacket. Let me throw my Type 3 blouse on top of it. And boom, Type 3 on top. I'm gonna fold that down, even give this the disadvantage of having the patch facing outwards. So there's Type 3. All right, so taking our few steps back, against the shadows, I can see it less, or excuse me, I can see M81 less than I can see this. All right, let's move on around. Already from this vantage point, it's pretty good. I'm trying not to be biased because I like Type 3. It's pretty good. I mean, we're probably 7 yards from it. I can still tell that there's something there, especially the edges of the patch. Just moving on around. Yeah, and this is where Type 3 shines. To the naked eye, I'm probably 10, 12 yards away from it, and I can't see it. Like, I know it's there, because that's where the rest of them were, and I'm looking through the same two trees as I was every other time. From this vantage point, there's our two trees, and I can't see it. Moving on around to our full frontal. And it's gone. I can see an outline of something, but I'm actually, looks like I'm seeing the front of the woodland camo. And where I keep walking over it, it keeps knocking it down. So I'm doing everyone a disservice. All right, on to the local mossy oak camo. All right, I took the other two jackets off, but here's still my ACU blouse. And you all are going to watch me take this off and put on the mossy oak long sleeve shirt. I'm actually going to pull these other camos out of here so the way we don't have what happened last time. Same path. All right, initially back, it's doing the best. You can see the Type 3 down below it, out of the bush. But mossy oak's doing all right. Let's move on over to our second vantage point. And unless you know what you're looking for, you're not going to see it. It's a little bit darker than everything else around it, but not by much. Moving on to our two tree vantage point. Yeah, I can't see it. I can see it a little bit right here, but it's mainly just the outline between the two trees right there. And then on over, full frontal. It's doing a really good job. I would say that the outline is about the same as the woodland. You can tell it looks like a dark shadow, but you can't tell what it is. It just looks like a dark blob. Looks like it could potentially be a log that's down or a stump that's been up, but you're not going to determine that is a t-shirt. So on to the next test where we're open in a clearing. All right, so this next test is going to simulate you've come across a clearing. You're having to move across this line of communication, and so the reason why I'm justifying this is because you're not always going to have the luxury of hiding in the bush. You're not always going to have the luxury of hiding even in the ground or like in a ranger grave. You are going to have to move, and camouflage is more about just concealing your silhouettes, concealing your movement. So we're going to go in the same order. Have my ACU, direct line of sight, 15 yards out, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to walk up this wood line and see if it ever disappears. So here we're direct line of sight, nothing's in our way. There, I have a tree in the way. So here we're in the bush, we're starting to get thicker and thicker and thicker until we hit another tree. But even this, the thickest point, you can see it right there. All right, so now on to our M81 woodland. Okay, so wind's picked up a little bit, sorry for that, but right there's our M81. We're in direct line of sight. We're going to take the same path up into thicker brush. So easily visible. It does conceal the silhouette against the tree in front of it and the ivy-ridden tree behind it better than the ACU, but let's see how it does as we move on. So here we're starting to get in the brush. As we move into the thickest brush and into the thickest, if I didn't know what I was looking for, you could be walking that close to me and I would never see you. So now on to type 3. All right, so now on to our type 3. As you can see, it's hanging right there. Initial thoughts, it is a lot lighter. It's reflecting light off the sun way better. It's not, way worse. It's not offsetting the distance between the tree in front of it and the tree behind it as well as it did the M81. But let's move on towards the bush and let's see how or if it disappears. So moving on up. Still see it really well. Moving on into our thick brush. So it doesn't disappear as well as the M81. I don't know. It's really hard to see with the naked eye. I'm sure it's going to come across on the camera just fine, but the digital pattern really breaks up with these small leaves. So I will say the camouflage does stick out. Well, the color of the color of the camouflage sticks out more. However, silhouette and the pattern is broken up better than M81. So like if I look away and look back at it, I can find it. The camouflage is not as good as the woodland, but the pattern does break up your silhouette better, if that makes any sense. So now on to mossy oak. So I was starting to walk away, and I noticed that as soon as I put this on this little tree that I have everything standing up on, just being on top of this, I can already tell a difference. Especially, and I didn't orient this in any way because you can see there's tan everywhere, but this tan with the background, even the small tree behind it, is already starting to break up that silhouette. So let's move back to where we started with everything else, but I wanted that to be pointed out and to be noted, and not to be forgotten and be left out of this video. So we're starting back where we've started with everything else. You can see it hanging up right there, where it's not as dark as M81 woodland. Once again, you're not getting that offset between the tree in front of it or behind it, but it's already blending in. I feel as though it's blending in better, but the sun's, enough of me talking. Let's move on to the bush. So right here, it's still pretty distinguishable. You can see in the little opening. But even if we move back, leaves are breaking it up. Moving on to where we end. And it's really good. I would say just like with the Type 3, it breaks up your silhouette. It breaks up your silhouette, but doesn't camouflage as well. I don't know. Should be that right there. It's not as good as the M81. M81, if you were silent and this close, I wouldn't be able to see you. Whereas this, if I'm walking, something looks off, and it is because of those light birch trees, or the birch color on that shirt, that it pops out. All right, so now I have it set up as if you're going to be walking through or past a clearing. You don't want to walk in lines of communication, you want to walk around them, and that's what this is going to be simulating. So I actually have it on my path that I take, just off of the path that I take whenever I walk my woods. So first off, ACU, and then we're going to walk to where there's a little bit of foliage cover, but not a lot. So now should be able to see it between those two trees. To the naked eye, it's very visible. Now on to woodland. All right, so now we have our M81 woodland right there. You can see it compared to my pile of camouflage down here. All right, let's make our path and let's see how it does. So you can see the silhouette of the jacket. The camouflage does a really good job of breaking that up and not being able to tell the distance. It's something that I've noticed with this test with M81 woodland, but you can still see it. It being darker does help, it being up off the ground, but let's see how the others do. So right off the rip, something that I noticed with the Type 3 is it being up off the ground, it's doing better. It's kind of breaking up its silhouette, but let's look at it as we move on. It does an okay job. It actually does a pretty good job for what it is. It's not as good as woodland up off the ground, but I mean, unless I'm looking for it, I'm not going to see it. It does break up the silhouette better, so as a camouflage it does better, but it is a little bit lighter and easier to pick up on. So now for our final test, real tree. So this is our real tree. It's hanging up right there. To the naked eye, it does a pretty good job of breaking up its, not hardly its silhouette because it's too dark, but where it has line branches on the shirt, it's breaking up pretty well against the line or the branch lines in front of it. So let's move on up through our bush. And through the bush, this is probably the best one. Once again, because of all the line breaks on it. The shadow hits well against it. You can barely see the outline between it all. Does a really good job of breaking up the silhouette while it's in the bush. I'm a little bit taller, so I'm seeing it from up here. I can kind of peek through and see the top of the shoulder. But if you're looking through the bush, it's pretty darn good. Final thoughts. So the whole reason for this test was to see if military camo was as good as civilian ready off-the-shelf ammo. And I would go as far as to say yes, with an asterisk. Reason for the asterisk is I don't know if this is IR reflective or not, IRR for short. So I don't know if it's IRR safe, but if you're just trying to break visual contact from another person, generally your off-the-shelf stuff is going to be just as good, and in some cases better than military camouflage. Here's why that's important. Military camouflage is expensive. It's getting cheaper with places like Americana Pipe Dream and Venture Surplus, but it's not as cheap as a $10 Walmart, or even $15 now, $15 Walmart long sleeve shirt that anybody can get. I have a pair of pants that are the same type of camouflage, bought them same day from the same store, and that whole outfit I think cost me $35. One reason to go with military surplus is that it has been proven and tested, and you know it's IRR safe. There are some things that you can do to make it not IRR safe, like washing it in regular detergents. But if you just get military surplus, you know it's going to be IRR safe. Now, going through where I would rank the camouflages, it hurts me to say I would probably go with woodland first. If I knew that I was going to be in a gorge, a river valley, if I knew that I was going to be down in darker, more shadowy places. Number 2 would probably be the real tree. It did well everywhere. There was a couple of places where the pattern was inconsistent and it was brighter at the shoulder than it was at the belly, and you kind of want the inverse. You want it to be darker in the sharp places and lighter in the flat places, so that way it throws off your silhouette. Number 3 would be the Type 3s. Type 3s are still good. They're not as prolific as multicam, so maybe you can find them cheaper. I was issued Type 3s, and that's what I'm going to run. I've ran them out in the woods here, and you disappear past 15 yards just walking up and moving, as long as you paint your face and you're wearing gloves. And then last is 100% ACU camo. It did not camouflage you in any way, shape, or form anywhere in here in Virginia. It's not to say that it may not be good somewhere else. I've never heard of it being good anywhere else, but it's definitely not good here. I know that a lot of people have it. It's very, very abundant. I've even seen it in pawn shops. People are trying to get rid of it. It's to say that if you're wearing ACU or my red flannel, I would definitely pick ACU. But if I had any other camouflage, I would pick that over the ACU camo. So thank you for being here for this test, and see you next time.